Hello friends, welcome to Chronicles in English. I am so glad you joined me today on this journey to explore the life of one of history's most remarkable figures. History isn't just about the past, it's about the people whose choices changed our world. Today, we'll discover one of those unforgettable stories. Imagine standing before one of the most powerful empires in history. Not with an army, not with powerful weapons, not with money, but with nothing more than truth, courage, and peace. It sounds impossible. Yet one ordinary man did exactly that. He inspired millions. He challenged injustice. He changed the future of an entire nation. His ideas would later inspire leaders around the world, including Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela. But Gandhi was not born a hero. He was once a shy little boy who was afraid to speak in public. So how did this quiet child become one of the greatest leaders in human history? Let's travel back in time and discover the extraordinary story of Mahatma Gandhi. Our journey begins on October 2nd, 1869, in the quiet coastal town of Porbandar. In western India, a baby boy was born. His parents named him Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. No one could have imagined that this quiet child would one day become one of the most influential people in history. Mohandas was not born into a royal family. He wasn't surrounded by luxury or extraordinary privilege. But he was born into a home filled with honesty, discipline, and strong moral values. His father, Karamchand Gandhi, served as the chief minister of the local kingdom. People respected him because he was fair, wise, and honest. His mother, Putlibai, was deeply religious. She prayed every day. She often fasted. She believed in kindness, self-control, and helping others before helping herself. Young Mohandas admired his mother more than anyone else. He watched her patience. He watched her compassion. He watched her unwavering faith. Without realizing it, he was learning lessons that would guide him for the rest of his life. He learned that truth is stronger than lies, that patience is stronger than anger, and that kindness often speaks louder than force. These simple lessons would later inspire millions of people around the world. But life outside his peaceful home was very different. It was filled with challenges, temptations, and injustice. And before long, the shy little boy would face the first test of his character. Little did Mohandas know, the greatest battle of his childhood would not be against another person. It would be against his own fears. As the years passed, Mohandas began attending school. He wasn't the smartest student. He wasn't the strongest. And he certainly wasn't the loudest. In fact, he was painfully shy. He spoke very little. He avoided attention whenever possible. As soon as school ended, he hurried straight home. He didn't stay to play with the other children. Many believed this quiet boy would never become a leader. But greatness often begins in unexpected places. One day, during a spelling examination, something happened. Mohandas accidentally spelled a word incorrectly. His teacher noticed the mistake. The teacher secretly signaled him to copy the correct answer. Most children would have copied without thinking twice. But Mohandas refused. He accepted the wrong answer rather than tell a lie. It seemed like a small decision, but it revealed something extraordinary. Even as a child, he believed honesty was more important than success. Years later, that same honesty would change history. But another big change was coming. At just 13 years old, Mohandas was about to become a husband. Today, 13-year-olds usually focus on school and friends, but in 19th century India, traditions were very different. When Mohandas was only 13 years old, he married Kasturba. She was also very young. Neither of them truly understood what marriage meant. They were still children learning how to grow up. Years later, Gandhi admitted he made many mistakes as a young husband. Sometimes he became jealous. Sometimes he acted selfishly. But those experiences taught him important lessons. He learned patience, respect, and self-control. As they grew older, Kasturba became much more than his wife. She became his closest friend. She became his greatest supporter, and one of the bravest women by his side. Together, they would face many hardships. But before those challenges arrived, another opportunity appeared, one that would take Mohandas far away from home. Leaving India would change everything. Across the sea, a new world was waiting. And so were challenges he had never faced before. In 1888, at the age of 18, Mohandas left India for England to study law. Many people criticized his decision. Some believed traveling overseas would destroy his traditions. Others feared he would forget his religion and culture. Before leaving, Mohandas made a solemn promise to his mother. He promised not to drink alcohol. He promised not to eat meat. And he promised to live with discipline and integrity. He kept every single promise. Life in England was not easy. Everything felt completely unfamiliar. The weather, the food, the language, and the customs. At first, Mohandas tried hard to fit in. He bought fashionable clothes. He took dancing lessons. He even practiced public speaking. But deep inside, he realized he was pretending. So he stopped trying to impress others. Instead, he devoted himself fully to learning. He studied law with great determination. He read books on religion, philosophy, and justice. He began asking deep questions. What is truth? What makes a person truly great? How should we respond to injustice? Without realizing it, the shy student was preparing for a much greater purpose. After completing his studies, he returned to India, full of hope. He believed success was waiting for him. Instead, life welcomed him with disappointment. Returning to India as a newly qualified lawyer, Mohandas dreamed of building a successful career. Reality was disappointing. He struggled to speak confidently in court. His shyness returned. Clients were few. Cases were rare. He wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. Then, an unexpected opportunity arrived. A businessman offered him legal work in South Africa. It was supposed to last only 1 year. Just 1 year. Mohandas accepted the offer. He packed his belongings. He said goodbye to his family, and he boarded a ship. He believed he was simply traveling for work. He had no idea that South Africa would transform him forever. There, one humiliating night would awaken a leader. One act of injustice would change the course of history. And one ordinary lawyer would begin the extraordinary journey toward becoming Mahatma Gandhi. That humiliating night arrived sooner than Mohandas could have imagined. Only a few days after arriving in South Africa, he boarded a train from Durban to Pretoria. He had purchased a valid first-class ticket. Dressed neatly in a suit, he settled into his seat, expecting an ordinary journey. But everything changed when the train stopped at Pietermaritzburg station. A white passenger entered the compartment and was furious to see an Indian sitting in first class. He immediately called a railway official. "You must move to the third-class carriage," the official ordered. Calmly, Mohandas showed him his ticket. "But I have a first-class ticket," he replied. "I paid for this seat." The official didn't care. It wasn't about the ticket. It was about prejudice. When Mohandas refused to move, 2 officials dragged him from the train. His luggage was thrown onto the platform after him. As the train disappeared into the darkness, Mohandas stood alone in the freezing cold. That night he sat awake in the waiting room, humiliated, confused, far from home. He asked himself one important question. If I return to India now, who will stand up for those who suffer this injustice every day? By sunrise, his decision was made. He would stay. He would fight, not with violence, not with hatred, but with truth. That single night changed the course of his life. But it was only the beginning. South Africa still had many more lessons to teach him. In the weeks that followed, Mohandas continued to experience discrimination. One day, while traveling by stagecoach, another humiliating incident occurred. A white official ordered him to move from his seat to make room for another passenger. Mohandas refused. He had paid for his seat fairly. The official became furious. Without warning, he slapped Mohandas across the face. He grabbed him by the arm and tried to drag him from the coach. But Mohandas held firmly to his seat. Some passengers watched silently. Others spoke up, saying the official had gone too far. Eventually, the coach continued its journey. Although Mohandas remained seated, the incident left a deep mark on his heart. Then came another insult. When he entered a courtroom wearing his traditional Indian turban, the judge ordered him to remove it. Mohandas politely refused. Rather than obey an unfair demand, he walked out of the courtroom with dignity. These experiences opened his eyes. He realized that thousands of Indians living in South Africa suffered similar humiliation every single day. Merchants, laborers, teachers, families. Many had no one to defend them. At first, Mohandas had planned to stay for only 1 year. Now, everything had changed. He knew his purpose was far greater than winning a legal case. His mission had become the fight for justice itself. But he still needed to discover how that fight should be fought. Violence would only create more violence. Hatred would only produce more hatred. There had to be another way. And before long, that new way would change the world forever. As the months passed, Mohandas realized that the discrimination he experienced was not his alone. Thousands of Indians living in South Africa faced the same injustice every single day. Workers, merchants, teachers, families, many had no one to defend them. Gandhi knew that simply complaining would change nothing. There had to be a better way to fight injustice, but not through violence, not through hatred. After years of deep thought and reflection, he found his answer. He called it Satyagraha. The word means holding firmly to the truth. Gandhi believed that truth was stronger than lies, love was stronger than hatred, and peace was stronger than violence. He encouraged people to stand against unfair laws without attacking anyone. If they were arrested, they would accept it peacefully. If they were insulted, they would not seek revenge. Many people laughed at his ideas. Some believed peaceful resistance would never succeed. But Gandhi refused to give up. Soon, thousands of people joined his movement. They marched peacefully. They accepted imprisonment with courage, and they continued demanding justice without using violence. Slowly, the government began to pay attention. The shy lawyer from India was becoming a respected leader. His message spread across South Africa and beyond. But Gandhi knew his journey that would not last forever. Far away, his homeland needed him. And before long, he would return to India, not as an ordinary lawyer, but as a leader ready to change the destiny of an entire nation. In 1915, after spending more than 20 years in South Africa, Gandhi returned to India. He was no longer the shy lawyer who had left years before. He had become a respected leader, a man known for standing against injustice without violence. People gathered to welcome him home. Many had heard of his peaceful campaigns in South Africa. They hoped he could help bring change to India. But Gandhi refused to rush into politics. Before leading the nation, he wanted to understand it. So he traveled across India. He visited villages. He met farmers. He spoke with factory workers. He listened more than he talked. Everywhere he went, he saw the same heartbreaking reality. Poverty, hunger, heavy taxes, and millions of people living under British rule. The suffering touched his heart. Gandhi realized that everything he had learned in South Africa had prepared him for this moment. India was calling him, and he was ready to answer. But before he could lead an entire nation, he would first fight for the rights of one small farming community. A victory there would give millions of Indians hope, and it would mark the beginning of India's journey toward freedom. In 1917, Gandhi received a letter from a poor farmer in Champaran, a district in northern India. The farmer pleaded for help. British landowners were forcing thousands of farmers to grow indigo instead of food. The farmers worked tirelessly, yet they remained poor. Many lived in fear. Others had lost hope completely. Gandhi knew he could not ignore their suffering. He traveled to Champaran and met the farmers face to face. He listened to their stories. He walked through their villages. He saw the poverty with his own eyes. Soon, British officials ordered Gandhi to leave the area. But Gandhi calmly refused. "I am here to serve these people," he said. "If helping them is a crime, then I am ready to accept the consequences." His courage inspired the farmers. For the first time, many believed someone was willing to stand beside them. As more people joined Gandhi, the British government came under increasing pressure. Eventually, the authorities agreed to investigate the farmers' complaints. The unfair system was changed. It was Gandhi's first major victory in India. He proved that ordinary people, standing together without violence, could defeat injustice. News of the victory spread across the country. Millions of Indians now knew his name. They saw him not only as a lawyer, but as a leader they could trust. Yet Champaran was only the beginning. A much greater struggle was about to unite an entire nation. And Gandhi would soon ask millions of people to do something that would shake the British Empire to its very foundations. After the success in Champaran, Gandhi's reputation spread rapidly across India. People from every corner of the country came to hear him speak. Farmers, workers, students, even wealthy businessmen. They all believed Gandhi could lead India toward freedom. But Gandhi knew that true independence would require the efforts of millions. In 1920, he launched the non-cooperation movement. He urged Indians not to support unjust British rule. He encouraged people to stop buying British goods, to leave government jobs, to boycott British schools and courts. Instead, Gandhi asked them to build a stronger India with their own hands. He encouraged people to spin their own cloth, known as khadi. To him, it was more than just clothing. It became a symbol of self-reliance, dignity, and freedom. Across the country, millions followed his example. British-made cloth was burned. Foreign goods were rejected. For the first time, the British Empire realized that India's greatest weapon was not violence, it was unity. But as the movement grew larger, so did the tension. Before long, one tragic event would force Gandhi to make a decision that shocked the entire nation. And many wondered, had the dream of freedom come to an end? In 1922, tragedy struck. During a protest in the town of Chorishora, a violent clash broke out. An angry crowd set fire to a police station, killing several officers. Gandhi was deeply saddened. Violence was never part of his mission. Believing the nation was not yet ready for complete nonviolent resistance, he made a decision that surprised everyone. He suspended the non-cooperation movement. Many of his followers were disappointed. Some even criticized him. Soon afterward, Gandhi was arrested and sentenced to prison. But imprisonment could not silence his message. When he was released, he continued searching for peaceful ways to challenge British rule. Then, in 1930, he launched one of the most remarkable protests in history, the Salt March. At that time, the British government controlled the production and sale of salt. Even poor families were forced to pay taxes on something as basic as salt. Gandhi decided to challenge that unfair law. He and a small group of followers began a journey on foot to the Arabian Sea. Day after day, they walked through towns and villages. With every mile, more people joined them. By the end of the march, thousands were walking beside Gandhi. When they finally reached the seashore, Gandhi bent down and picked up a handful of natural salt. It seemed like a simple act, but it sent a powerful message to the world. No empire, no matter how powerful, could stop people determined to fight injustice peacefully. Soon, millions of Indians began making their own salt. The British government responded by arresting Gandhi once again. But by then, the entire world was watching. India's struggle for freedom had become impossible to ignore. Yet the greatest test of Gandhi's leadership was still to come. The final battle for India's independence was drawing near. As the years passed, the call for independence grew stronger. Millions of Indians were no longer willing to live under British rule. Then, in 1942, Gandhi launched what would become his final great campaign, the Quit India movement. His message was simple, clear, and powerful. Quit India. The British government responded quickly. Gandhi and many other leaders were arrested. Once again, he found himself behind prison walls. But prison could not imprison his ideas. Across the country, millions continued demanding freedom. During those difficult years, Gandhi suffered one of the greatest losses of his life. His beloved wife, Kasturba Gandhi, became seriously ill while they were in prison together. She had stood beside him since they were married as children, for more than 60 years. She shared his struggles, joined his peaceful campaigns, and endured imprisonment without losing her courage. In 1944, Kasturba passed away. Gandhi had lost not only his wife, but also his closest friend and lifelong companion. Even through his grief, he remained committed to India's freedom. Finally, on August 15, 1947, India achieved its long-awaited independence. After nearly 2 centuries of British rule, the nation was finally free. People celebrated in the streets. Flags waved proudly. But freedom came at a painful cost. British India was divided into 2 new nations, India and Pakistan. The partition triggered one of the largest migrations in history. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs crossed the new borders in search of safety. Instead, many found violence. Homes were destroyed. Families were separated. Hundreds of thousands were killed, and millions were forced to leave everything behind. Gandhi was heartbroken. He believed people of different religions could live together in peace, while much of the nation celebrated independence. He traveled to communities torn apart by violence. He comforted grieving families. He prayed with people of different faiths. He fasted, hoping his sacrifice would help end the bloodshed. His message never changed. Hatred could never defeat hatred. Only peace, truth, and forgiveness could heal a divided nation. Many admired his courage, but some Hindu extremists believed Gandhi had shown too much sympathy toward Muslims and strongly opposed his efforts to promote peace. As tensions continued to rise, Gandhi's life was increasingly at risk. Yet he refused to live in fear. He continued his mission of peace until the very end. Little did he know, his final journey was only days away. The evening of January 30th, 1948, seemed like any other. Gandhi was in New Delhi. As always, he was on his way to an evening prayer meeting. Although friends had warned him about possible danger, he refused to stop meeting the people. He believed that fear should never control a person's life. As Gandhi slowly walked through the garden, people gathered to greet him. Some bowed respectfully. Others reached out to catch a glimpse of the man they called Bapu, meaning father. Then, without warning, a man stepped forward from the crowd. His name was Nathuram Gods. He was a Hindu extremist who believed Gandhi had betrayed the Hindu community by promoting peace and reconciliation with Muslims after the partition of India. Gods bowed before Gandhi. Then he pulled out a pistol. 3 shots rang out. The peaceful gathering fell silent. Gandhi collapsed to the ground. Within moments, the man who had spent his life preaching peace was gone. He was 78 years old. News of Gandhi's death spread across India within hours. Soon, the entire world was mourning. Millions of people filled the streets to pay their final respects. Leaders from every corner of the world honored his life and his sacrifice. Although Gandhi never held political office as the ruler of India, his ideas transformed a nation. His belief in truth and nonviolence inspired generations of leaders. Among them were Martin Luther King Jr., who led the civil rights movement in the United States, and Nelson Mandela, who fought against apartheid in South Africa. Today, Gandhi's legacy continues to remind the world that true strength is not found in violence, but in courage, not in hatred, but in compassion, not in revenge, but in forgiveness. One shy little boy from Porbandar grew into a man who challenged one of the world's most powerful empires without raising a weapon. And in doing so, he changed history forever. The story of Mahatma Gandhi reminds us that true greatness is not measured by power or wealth. It is measured by courage, integrity, compassion, and the willingness to stand for what is right, even when the journey is difficult. His life teaches us that one ordinary person can change the world through truth, peace, and perseverance. And that is a lesson we can all apply to our own lives. Thank you so much for watching and being part of Chronicles in English. Every story you watch here is not only a journey through history, but also another step in improving your English naturally. So keep learning, keep listening, and keep growing with us. If you enjoyed this documentary, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below sharing the biggest lesson you learned from Gandhi's life. And be sure to turn on notifications, because another incredible story from history is coming soon. Until next time, stay curious, keep practicing your English, and we'll see you in the next episode of Chronicles in English.